بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على رسوله الكريم سيدنا محمد خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. MashaAllah, it's very lovely and very impressive to see all of these beautiful faces here tonight. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gather all of us together in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Jannah. Just came to know that Brother Ismail, one of the very active members of the management committee here, is in Melbourne for the funeral of his brother who passed away just recently. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the deceased, the complete and total forgiveness, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him a place in the Jannah in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We also have some members of our community who are admitted into the hospital for a bit of time now, and they are really struggling with their sicknesses and diseases. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them soon and speedy recovery. Allahumma ameen. Alhamdulillah, this is a really very great time we spent together here in the masjid, especially in a time when people may be doing some other stuff, entertaining themselves, maybe spending time with family or friends or going out, especially in this very beautiful weather outside there, mashallah, very nice. If you live in new lands, you will find it even very challenging. We also would like to request all of you to stay behind after the talk, inshallah, because there is a beautiful dinner, inshallah, prepared by amazing members of our community. So don't miss out the dinner, stay behind and enjoy the dinner. And before enjoying the dinner, enjoy, inshallah, the knowledge of our deen and the reflections on the Quran that we're going to share, inshallah, very briefly. When I say very briefly, give me at least half an hour, This is my brief. I'd like to share with you some reflections on the ayat I have recited from Surah An-Nisa. There is one surah in the Quran, one of the longest surahs in the Quran, the third longest surah in the Quran named An-Nisa. But there is not even one short surah called Rijal, men. Nisa mean women. It gives us an indication that we need to understand. I work very hard to understand women, and they don't need to understand us. Because they usually don't need to understand, they just do whatever they do. So we have to spend time understanding the lessons of the Quran and understand that this Quran has one thing that most of the people not aware of it. What is it? In Surah Al-Anbiya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ. Allah has sent down this book to tell you everything about your life. It's not just about the akhirah. Some people just reduce the value of the Quran into the akhirah, the life hereafter. If I don't want to know anything about Jannah, about Hisab, about the angels, about the life hereafter, Quran is there. Anything to do with my dunya, I have to find my own way. I have to search my own way. I have to find a way to answer my questions, and there might be some answers somewhere else. But in reality, the Quran has answers to all what we are facing today. All. It doesn't have to be exactly, detailed answers or the answers that we're looking for, but in reality, there is some kind of indication in the Quran that tells us exactly what we need to understand about our life, our day-to-day activities, our present, our future, and of course, our life hereafter. I would like also, especially to refer to this ayah which says about a conversation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and shaitan. There was a conversation between Allah and Iblis after Iblis refused to make sajda to Adam alayhi salam. And we have heard these conversations before, or these kind of dialogues before. Now I would like to pick up one thing he said in his conversation or in his response to Allah and project it onto one of the situations that we are facing today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, reporting Iblis talking to him, وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. He said to Allah, Ya Allah, this is my plan. I'm going to take revenge from Adam and his children, until the end of the time. I'm not going to leave them alone. I will take my share from them. He said, I have a share from them. Those people who are going to follow me, who are going to accept my advice, they will be loaded with me into Jahannam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from Jahannam. The other thing also before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that all these gods that people worship, there is one image or one person behind all of these images. One person. It is shaitan. They're not actually worshipping the cow in India or the Buddha or worshipping statues here or there. They don't even worship Jesus Christ himself. What they worship actually is shaitan. So when you search behind any image that people worship, you will find shaitan there. This is what our Quran says. إِن يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَّا إِنَاثًا وَإِن يَدْعُونَ إِلَّا شَيْطَانًا مَرِيدًا. Whatever they call, they are actually calling for shaitan. They pray to shaitan, they worship shaitan. They don't worship any other one. Maybe in the front, front screen looks like somebody else, but in reality, the one they worship is shaitan. And there is no enemy for us in this life. No enemies, just one enemy. One enemy. One general enemy is shaitan. Even if you find in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word enemy for some people, but this is limited to certain situations. Once this situation is removed, they're not enemy anymore. But shaitan is enemy forever. Shaitan will never be a friend. Will never ever be friend at all. Shaitan is always enemy and will continue to be an enemy. And if he's not a direct enemy, he will push somebody to be your enemy. What is this current situation that we have at the moment that link it to this ayah? I think all of you have heard about mpox, monkey pox, which is a disease which started spreading out, and this is the next challenge for humanity after Corona. We have suffered from Corona a lot, and the world actually went into a lot of troubles. Nowadays, they are talking about the World Health Organization. They are talking about this health emergency situation, and they call it mpox, which is a disease transmitted from or transmittable from monkeys or other animals to humans. And it's very dangerous, and so many thousands of cases have been discovered now, and they declared a state of emergency in some countries because it's turning into a pandemic in some situation. In some African countries, it is turning into pandemic. And thousands of people actually died. In Congo, for example, 17,000 cases have been registered and about 600 people already died from this disease. It is similar to the chicken pox, but it's so dangerous and spread very quickly, and they are not 100% sure if the vaccine that they have is good for it or not. What that to do with this ayah? This is a disease, this is a sickness, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it particularly to attack a certain group of people who come under this category or this ayah I have recited from Surah An-Nisa. The first appearance to this virus was long time ago, in the 70s, 1970s, and it's just a kind of a virus that transmitted from animals, especially monkeys, but also some other animals, to humans, and it caused some skin rash, high temperature, headache, and fatigue. And usually people are safe from this virus. But now it's getting dangerous because the variant that is present at the moment is very dangerous, very contagious, and it sounds to be very, very dangerous to humanity, to the future of humanity, especially if these practices continue. I sound like a doctor right now, I just feel in the hospital, Anyway. Yeah. So what that to do with this ayah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُغَيْرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. This pandemic started to spread recently from Spain, when they have a parade for the homosexual people. Tens of people or hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people from different countries attended in this kind of parade or party or conference, whatever, to practice al-razila or al-fahisha. There is one single name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used for this practice. We try to make it look nice or to look normal or to look human, but actually it is not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named this practice when man and man and woman they share together a sexual relationship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call it عمل قوم لوط or al-fahisha. Al-fahisha, if you can think of a word to describe the most heinous, the most hateful, the most disgusting and filthy kind of practice, then this is the one word the Quran, gives to this kind of practice. There is no any other name. There is no any other name. It's not a matter of love. It's not a matter of affection. It's not human. It's not about how people choose or their life, or they are inclined to this kind of practice, or they have genetic disorder. This is a filthy, disgusting, shameful, heinous, contagious practice. When they had this parade or this conference in Spain, recently, those people who practiced this shameful act, this fahisha, they went back again to their countries and spread the disease. 2/3 of the cases discovered from this disease inbox is from those categories of people. And it is going to spread over, because these practices, just for your information, according to the World Health Organization, these practices, the official registered relations, what they call it same-sex relation, official, is up to 10% at this stage. But in reality, this is not the number, because not all of these cases are registered. So many of these cases are not registered. They just practice this fahisha, openly or secretly, whatever, and they actually spreading this disease very widely, and it might turn up into something very dangerous to the whole entire humanity. Why? Because the world now is imposing this practice on people, forcing the people to accept it, to celebrate it. Recently in France, the Council of Freedom of Speech, and recently, you see, this Charlie Hebdo, it's a French magazine who drew the picture of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they wanted to make him look ugly or look bad or kind of distort his image, defame Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they cannot do that. This is just what they think. When the Muslims got angry and said, "Why do that?" They said, "This is freedom of expression. We live in a free country. People can say whatever they want." In the same France, recently, in the recent Olympics, there was a famous celebrity soccer player who refused to put the flag of the rainbow flag on his t-shirt. He said, I don't want to put it on my t-shirt. They actually put him in a lot of trouble, and they kick him out of the team, and he is facing now charges because of going against the laws of the country. Subhanallah. So even if you don't agree, you have to be in trouble because you don't agree with whatever they tell you to agree with. It's not about freedom of expression. It's not about that. But if somebody wants to insult Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or insult the Muslims, or even to kill hundreds and thousands of them, it's okay. This is freedom. This is self-defense. When the Zionists kill these thousands of people, in Palestine, this is self-defense. They have the right to defend their countries. But when the Palestinians defend their lives and their homes, they become terrorists and, radicalists and all of these names. So here we go. This kind of practice is a very, very, very ugly and very filthy practice, and we have to speak against it. We have to educate our people about it, because it's medically proven that what they call it STD, sexual transmitted diseases. These are the diseases that transmittable through these kind of practice are spreading worldwide because of these practices, because of these abnormal practices. Subhanallah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has warned us against that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned the humanity against it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned the humanity, don't even come close to that. Subhanallah. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. Do not go close to zina, adultery, fornication. إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً. This is fahisha, وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. It will bring a lot of bad consequences on you. Subhanallah. A lot of bad consequences. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, مَنْ تَشَرَتِ الْفَاحِشَةِ فِي قَوْمٍ. When this fahisha spread in a group of people, in nation, countries, whatever, حتى يعلنوا بها, and then they openly speak about it, openly talk about it, openly celebrate it, and encourage the people about it. Subhanallah, what will happen if they do that? Subhanallah, إلا فشى فيهم الطاعون والأوجاع التي لم تكن في أسلافهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send diseases and sicknesses and pandemics to them that never existed in the people before them. So when they wanted to show it as a something, nice, something, beautiful, or something normal, this is not the case. They are lying to humanity. They are lying. The highest rate of suicide and family and domestic violence, the highest rate of suicide and domestic violence exists among these kind of relations because they are abnormal. They are abnormal. In Islam, subhanallah, a husband is prohibited from practicing his natural relationship with his woman, with his wife, from in this kind of way, from in the wrong place, because this is haram. This is a place of of filth. This is a place of the waste that comes out. It's not supposed to happen, and it's haram. It's prohibited in Islam. It is 100% prohibited. Why? Because the relationship in Islam, which is marriage between a man and woman, one single man for one single woman, if this relation is not meant for pleasure, because all of the justification they introduce for this kind of relation is pleasure. It's not for pleasure. It is for something else. Pleasure is one part of the equation, but the biggest part, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained in the Quran, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. It is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduced this miracle to you. He created spouses for you, talking to men and talking to women. The spouse, your husband, your wife, you will find with them peace, love, and tranquility. Tranquility means that you are settled and you have a purpose. You are actually increasing the number of humans. You are generating more humans to this earth, subhanAllah. It is not just for pleasure. And they actually pushing the humanity to go through this kind of practice and ignore the other side, or ignore the normal practice. If you have some kind of awareness of what is happening in your own schools, where you send your children to spend 6 hours in these schools every single day, 5 days a week, 6 to 7 hours, what they are learning over there. They are actually learning according to navigating the journey. They are learning that this is normal practice. A boy can be with a boy and a girl can be with a girl. This is normal. This is okay. As long as they like it, they want it, this is their life, their choice. This is what our kids learn at school. This is what they learn at school. And this is actually what the media and the government is talking about, is presenting to the people. This is something normal. This is okay. This is legal. They can go and get a certificate, a marriage certificate from a church, from a justice of peace, from whatever. But for us, our faith, we believe this is a curse. This is a disease. This is fighting or challenging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it goes against nature. This is going against nature. This is against nature. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many places in the Quran, amazingly. Have you heard about, have you heard about Prophet Al-Yasa? Yes, his name is there. Al-Mu'tafikat. Their name are there in the Quran. Many prophets, Allah mentioned their name and He didn't tell anything about them. We know nothing about their story. He said that exists. But the story of the people of Lot is repeatedly mentioned in the Quran many times. Many times. Every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about a bunch of prophets, He repeatedly talk about Qawm Lot, the people of Lot. Why? Why this insistence in the Quran for us to get to know what the people of Lot did? Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew out of His comprehensive knowledge that humanity will end up repeating the same thing again. But back in the time, at the time of Lot alayhi salam, it was a small tiny city called Sadum, somewhere close to Al-Bahr al-Mayyit, the Dead Sea in Jordan. And it got destroyed and finished. That's it, small city. But now, it is not in a small city, it's on a wide scale. It's worldwide. Not only in Western countries, it's also going into Muslim countries. It is going into Muslim countries and going into their curriculums, their syllabuses, their educational system. And one of the things actually that made this war, or the war against Gaza was launched actually because of they wanted to impose this curriculum on their schools in Gaza, and they told them, if you do not accept this curriculum to be taught in your schools, we're not going to give you humanitarian aid or food. Because they were in a siege, in a detention camp. They were not allowed to get their own food. They have to get the food with permission. So the people there, they said, no, we die better than teach this filth to our children. And subhanallah, they actually stopped it. After this, in the last 10, 12 months, things are slowing down. But they were going so hard and so fast and so curious that the kids couldn't, subhanallah, they couldn't resist it. And in the toy section, you will find it there, in the movies there, in the cartoon there. It is everywhere, just like a kind of, subhanallah, massive war, comprehensive war against nature, against humanity, against normal life, subhanallah. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the people of Lut and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tripled the punishment for them. He punished the people of Ad, very, very strong people, with a riyah, just wind, strong wind, finish. Right? The people of Thamud with a strong wind, or a sayha is a big sound, or a thunderstorm, and they got finished. Fir'aun, how Fir'aun was terminated or destroyed, drowned in the water. That's it, finished. One kind of punishment. But the people of Lut was different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَجَعَلْنَا عَلِيهَا سَافِلَهَا وَأَمْطَرْنَا عَلَيْهَا حِجَارَةً مِّن سِجِّيلٍ مَّنضُودٍ مُسَوَّمَةً عِندَ رَبِّكَ لِلْمُجْرِمِينَ وَمَا هِيَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ بَعِيدٍ. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifted their city, the streets, the houses, the farmers, the people, lifted them up, taking the roots, the foundation of the houses, the infrastructure of the street, lift them up to the sky, and then flip it upside down and let it go, and then send on them rocks and stones burning from the hellfire straight away. Subhanallah. It's triple punishment. Why? Because of committing this crime against humanity. This is actually a crime against humanity. How did it start? Go back again to the ayah we've been talking about. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is Shaitan presenting to you guys his plan to destroy humanity. What is it? قال ولا أضلنهم. I'm going to mislead them. I'm going to get them confused so they don't know what is right and what is wrong. Did you know there is an Islamic school, Islamic university in Tel Aviv in Israel? There is an Islamic university there, and you go there, you can get, the students, they can get PhD degrees as well, masters and PhD. Really? Well, yes. And they have a prayer room in the Knesset, in the parliament over there. But the version of Islam that they teach in Oxford, in Cambridge, in Harvard, in Tel Aviv, in many other places, is a version of Islam that create doubts and confusion and trouble into the mind of those students. And subhanallah, they handpick from Muslim nations some individuals, smart individuals, and give them a scholarship to come and study in these universities and take these degrees and send them back again to their countries so they get a high degree or a high position in their government. Why? Because they get a PhD, they get a certificate from a Western university. When they get this position, they mislead the people, subhanallah. Why? Because the version of Islam that they have is not the version of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If I take you back again from this ayah, in Surah An-Nisa, 3-4 ayat before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقَ الرَّسُولِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقَ الرَّسُولِ. What is يُشَاقِقَ الرَّسُولِ? The one who disagree with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and question the integrity and the honesty and the truthfulness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is happening in these kind of academic institutions. They question what comes from Rasulullah. Said, how do I know that this is, said by Mohammed or said by, by the Prophet? How did you know that this is part of from the revelation? He might be just sitting on his couch and talking up to something, and somebody wrote after him. It's not, doesn't mean that everything he says we have to write it down and take it for granted. No, we have to take everything he said for granted, because he doesn't speak out of any mistake or any desire. Right? وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and follow the course or the way, the lifestyle different from Sabil al-Mu'mineen. Who are those Mu'mineen? The believers, the way of the believers of the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are the believers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to follow them. If we divert or if we leave them alone and we go our own way, we will definitely go wrong. So here we go. Shaitan says, لَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ, I'm going to mislead them, give them wrong advice, wrong guidance, mislead them. وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, and that is one of the most dangerous tactics of Shaitan. أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, fill their hearts with false hopes. Hope. We have hope. Does it mean that we should be hopeless? No, hasha lillah. Hope or wishy hopes or false hopes is some kind of feeling that I will be okay. I'm fine, I'm okay. You know what? I just can do it anytime. I can do it anytime. Yes, I'm a bit lazy today, but you know what? Just because I'm busy, I'm tired, because it's winter. But once the winter is over, once I finish my study, once I get married, I will be a good person. I will do it. I know I'm not doing the right thing, but you know what? I will be better. I will be okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna take my hand. Well, what kind of effort you have done? I have hope. I have hope. I have hope. Most of the people who are behind, slowing down, or not really on the right track, they have goodness in their heart. They have a lot of goodness in their heart. They are really good people. But their problem is their hope is so big that is big enough to squeeze them or to keep them in their comfort zone, and doesn't want or doesn't let them get out of this comfort zone. As a Muslim, you have to know there is only one way to get to what you want, is to get out of your comfort zone. If you want to do everything conveniently and you think you can make it to the Jannah by doing everything conveniently, you are kidding yourself. You are kidding yourself. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from day one, he received the revelation and the command, Ya ayyuha al-muddathir, come fa'andir, get up and warn the people. He folded his bedding and he put it aside and he said to his wife, I don't think there is time for sleep anymore. It's very restless now. I'm not going to sleep anymore. It's no time for me. But we want to get things easy way, convenient. Yeah, I want to go to the Jannah, but I don't want to go to Fajr. I don't want to spend my money. I don't want to stop gaming and playing and laziness. I don't want to do much. I just want to enjoy and have whatever I want. I want to enjoy. It's all about myself, what I desire, what I like. This is amani, as the Quran said. وَلَا أُضُلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ. I'm going to command them to do what? To cut the ears of the cattle or the an'am, the animals. Well, it's now quite common practice that they put some kind of earrings or some marks in the ears of the animals. Actually the scholars are not really 100% sure what does it mean in this ayah, but it's a kind of way to, change the way of breeding the animals, which we call it today genetic engineering. So the animals actually put too much weight or too much muscles or too much meat or too much milk. This is actually a way of twisting the nature of these animals so they can produce more production of meat or milk or whatever production we take from the animal. And the number 4, he said, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. I'm going to command them to change the khalq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will change the creation of Allah. So if Allah created them beautiful, nice, they will go and do some plastic surgery. So they make things bigger or things smaller, or they, change the way they are created, subhanallah. And this is one of the very, very profitable industries in the world, plastic surgery. You see women, subhanallah, they look different. And this is the culture now, this is the lifestyle. The way they change the make of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very dangerous. And sometimes it's very ugly. It's not realistic. This is something like fake. It's all fake. And this is creeping to our communities as well, to our lifestyle and our culture and our faith. And you'll find women coming and asking, how about if I do that? Is it okay to do that? Is it okay? And they ask about these plastic surgeons, spend tons of money on this kind of industry. Maybe not in the Newtown community, but in other communities, these millions of dollars, these millions, of money that wasted on this kind of industry could be good enough to change the situation of their home countries. Wallahi, we have people here in our community whose family back home struggle to put bread on the table. Bread, just the bread. They struggle to put bread. And they just go to a salon to do some kind of botox injection or whatever, and it costs these thousands of dollars because the way she wants to look like this model. And the husband, because the husband is like kind of, browsing the internet, and he always compares her with this kind of celebrity. She wants to keep his eyes closed and, modesty, so she goes and do this surgery and these these injections. Why? She looks pretty. She looks nice, and she doesn't want him to look somewhere outside. Subhanallah. This is the culture. It's changing the creation of Allah, changing a boy to a girl or a girl to a boy, or having these kind of abnormal relationship. Why we have to look about that? Maybe the seniors of our community here, maybe not really very concerned about this kind of thing. I mean, that's out of the out of books. Well, why we have to look about it? But our kids are living this reality, this sad reality every day. Every day. Your son, your daughter might be sitting in the school next to somebody who doesn't know if he's a boy or a girl. One day comes with blue hair or purple hair. Sometimes one side of the head is shaved and the other side is not shaved, is long hair. And this kind of things. They have to work with those people here in these offices. They have to work with them. They have to study with them. They have to live with them. And they're gonna come to you and ask questions, or maybe they don't ask questions because they will be scared. If they ask the question, you're gonna give them a hiding or something like that. What is wrong with my friend? My trans friend. He's a trans. What's wrong with him? He's okay. He's a nice guy or a nice person anyway. Them. We use the word them, not him, not her. It's just them, because we don't know exactly if it's him or her. Just like this is something that our kids are going to have and face and deal with day after day, day after day, and we have to learn about this. Is the plan of the shaitan for humanity. One of the hadith that I read before, and I actually didn't understand until I was searching about this topic, when shaitan set up his throne on the water. He have a kind of a meeting or a conference sitting on the surface of water. This is what Rasulullah ﷺ said. It's not something that we don't understand. We don't know what happened. But he set up and welcome, or take report, Karkozari, from his workers who will go out and do some work for him. Say, hey, come on, what did you do today? He said, you know what? I kept advising this guy until he drank alcohol. Okay, fine. Not much. Sit down. And the other guy said, I tried with this guy until he smoked weeds. Okay, fine. It's okay. Fine. What about this guy? What about this guy? And then they just put them down. So tell them off. Okay, fine. Sit down. Sit down. You did nothing. You did nothing. Until somebody comes to him and say, you know what I did today? I tried my best to create a fight between a husband and wife, and they ended up divorcing. Subhanallah. He is sitting on his, majesty throne. He gets up and says, come and give me a hug. You are the man. You are the one. Okay, what is the point here? When the family is broken, It means that the people will stop marrying. This marriage will come to an end. Why? Because if marriage is going to bring me trouble, why I have to get married? How many people married here? How many people not in this community? I mean, in this country, for example, how many people are actually willing to get married or to live in a marriage, legitimate relationship? Very few, probably less than 20%. And how many other illegitimate or illegal relationship? So many, so many. I read recently, some statistics here in New Zealand that the prostitution houses, there are places here in New Zealand for prostitution where people practice adultery. More than 80% of the customers who visit these prostitution houses are the married people. 80% of the people who visit these houses who practice prostitution and zina and adultery are married people. Married people already in a relationship. Is it not alarming? If this is the practice of the people, if this is what the shaitan is targeting to create this kind of myths, this kind of this kind of relationship and damage the family, damage the marriage, then the humanity will end up into disaster. These diseases, sexual diseases, are spreading so wide and going everywhere, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets angry with these kind of practices, subhanallah. Rasulullah said in one of his hadith, which is not very authentic, but it's narrated in many different books of tafsir, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or when the angels see, two men doing amalu qawm Lut, the practice of qawm Lut, they shake the heaven because of anger and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permission. Let us get down to those guys and finish them the way we finished the people of Lut. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hold them back and said, don't do that, just wait, just wait. Subhanallah. Well, this is the reality of the matter. This is something that we don't like to talk about it in our masajid because it's disgusting. But this is actually something that we have to face, and we have to educate our children why we have to get married. Why it's in Islam a man and woman have to be in a legal, legitimate Islamic relationship where they are married according to the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why we have, when we deal with each other, think outside the box of pleasure. It's not for pleasure. This relationship is for life, is for building a family, is for obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why we tolerate, we get along each other, we let go of things. Because if it's only for pleasure, then we will have multiple divorces, very quick divorces. And that's one of the issues, very critical issues what we're having in our community. People just get married yesterday and come next and say, hey, I don't think we can live together. Why, Habibi? Just like that. We're going to get divorced. And Sheikh in the middle is, working on both sides. Why? We just married yesterday, man. Oh, no, I don't want to get married, to have with this woman. We want to do it. Why? Because they what they're looking for, to be happy. The relationship, if I'm not happy with her and she's not happy with me, why? Because of this, because of that. Sometimes it's just simple things or simple situation, because the target, the objective of their relationship is just being happy according to their own rules and pleasure. If happiness and pleasure is not there, they don't tolerate anything. Why I have to be in this relationship? Just let go and go. Family is broken, children are traumatized, and people go somewhere. Most of those people, by the way, most of those people who choose to be in a homosexual relationship are coming from broken families where husband and wife or dad and mom having issues, and they got breakup or got some issues or some kind of family violence. That is why those kids grow up with this mindset that because of mom and dad we have these issues. I think this form of relationship is not a good one. Let's look for another type of relationship. And they go and find in the media, find on the TV, find on the internet, examples of successful, beautiful relationship between, same gender, subhanAllah. And that is why, as a community, as we said, need to educate ourselves, educate our community, and be vigilant, and be aware of what we have to say, what we have to learn, and what we have to teach our children, and what we have to talk about. Yes, sometimes it's very painful to talk about certain realities, but it's something that we have to face it. Again, we did not give, or we did not ask our children before we bring them here. Most of the people who come here, migrants or workers or refugees, they come here maybe by their choice or out of their hand. But our children who are born here and they have to live here and fit in this culture must be at least equipped or must be educated. So when they grow up, they know what to do and how to stay connected to Islam and connected to the Quran for the rest of their life. It is our mission, it's our responsibility, and it's our obligation to work on our kids, on our community members, vulnerable ones, the young ones, and to make sure that they understand what our faith is all about, what is right and what is wrong, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us, and what we should do and what we shouldn't do, and all of these things. We have to talk about that all the time. We have to educate them all the time. It maybe take priority over providing them with food, with toys, with clothes, because these things can be provided by anyone. But the thing that that can be only provided by you as a parent, as a community member, as a masjid member, is this education or this knowledge, which is linked to the Quran and the Sunnah and the practice of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Finally, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us and our families and save us from all sorts of evils. Allahumma ameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم عافنا واعف عنا واغفر ذنوبنا واستر عيوبنا وارحمنا رحمة لا نشقى بعدها أبدا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر عبادك المجاهدين في فلسطين. اللهم انصر عبادك المجاهدين في فلسطين. اللهم انصر عبادك المجاهدين في كل مكان يا رحيم يا رحمن يا رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.